Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City Council meeting. Commissioner Palmieri, will you do the land acknowledgement, please? If you would like to stand up, you can.
The West Hollywood City Council acknowledges that the land on which we gather and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino, Tongva, and Kij peoples.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. All right, I am calling this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Sophia Mitzman, will you come up and lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. We're going to bring you right back up in a second for a little special something, so don't go too far. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Councilmember Heilman.
Here.
Councilmember Meister.
Here.
Councilmember Shine.
Present.
Vice Mayor Byers.
Here.
And Mayor Erickson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Staff is requesting that item 2M, the Lesbian Speaker Series event, be tabled to seek additional input from the LGBTQ Commission, and that public hearing items 3A, 3B, 3C be continued to the July 15th City Council meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Do my colleagues have any changes to the commission, to the agenda? Commission, whatever. I'll start to my right. Councilmember Meister, do you have any changes? I'm open to suggestions. All right. Why don't I take a few stabs at it? Item 5A, development of city policy requiring sustainable and climate-friendly food choices for city-sponsored events.
Yes.
Great. I would ask if 5B, but I'm guessing if my colleagues have questions on that. Do we have questions on 5B? A couple? Great. All right. 6A.
I have
Questions? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
6B, I have questions on. 6C, the agreement for the 5-year municipal law enforcement service agreement between the County of Los Angeles and the City of West Hollywood. You're okay with that? I have comments I'll provide at the council member comment portion, but that's about it. We're good with that one? Okay, that's going to consent. 6D, consideration of the increase of allowable special events and activations to change.
I'm okay with that going to consent. Oh, yeah.
Questions? Okay. 6E, August 31st is Overdose Awareness Day. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And then appointments, we'll get through lickety-split.
Mayor, I will not be making my appointment to the LGBTQ plus commission tonight, just a note.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Shine. All right.
Mayor, may we pull item 2R from consent?
Yes, happy
Thank
to.
you.
All right.
Mayor, can I note my no vote to 2F and 2G?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, City Clerk, did you catch all of that?
I did, Mayor, yes.
All right, so for the folks watching at home, 2M is being tabled, 3A, 3B, 3C is being tabled. We are doing, do we want to move 4A, the increase in council member stipends? All right, that will be tabled. Glad this paper, 5. Move to consent. Sorry, not tabled. Apologies. Move to consent. 5A is moving to consent. That's development of city policies requiring sustainable climate-friendly food choices. Keeping 5B, keeping 6A, keeping 6B. 6C is moving to consent. 6E is moving to consent. And I think that's it.
And 2R was pulled.
And 2R was pulled. Thank you. It's teamwork up here. All right, let's take a vote. Thank you so much. That passes 5-0. Do any of my colleagues have any Levine Act disclosures? No?
No.
No. I do not as well. adjournment motions. I believe we have one. Councilmember Meister. And, oh, wonderful. We'll start over here.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Harriet Block, mother of longtime resident Larry Block. Harriet Block grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and graduated from Tilden High School, my alma mater, in the class of 1955. Harriet was a founding member of the Secaucus Outlet Center and chaired the committee to overturn the blue laws and allowed Sunday shopping in Paramus, New Jersey. Later in life, she moved to Las Vegas, where she worked as the welcome wagon lady, greeting new residents. She made her movie debut at 63 years of age as a backup in the movie Rat Race, a movie about slot machines. Harriet loved the casino, and when pain crept into her wrist, the doctor diagnosed her with slot finger. Harriet was a selfless mom, tireless worker, and the friend everybody counted on. Her daughter, Lori, would say that mom taught her how to be successful in a man's world. She is survived by her 3 children, Larry, Lori, and Keith, and grandson, Brian. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, and I'm offering my condolences to Larry's loss and Larry's family's loss as well. Councilmember Heilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Our longtime resident, Joel Polachek, lost his mom, Lucille Polachek, who passed away on June 19th at the age of 97. She graduated from Wellesley College. She earned a degree in chemistry and embarked on a path to make a meaningful difference in the world. After college, she married Richard Polachek. They were married for 59 years. They raised 3 sons, Joel, Neil, and John. In 1970, Lucille co-founded Events Unlimited, a company that raised millions for Democratic candidates and social initiatives. I'd like to extend our deepest condolences to Joel and the entire Polachek family during this difficult time, and may her memory be a blessing to all.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Heilman. That concludes adjournment motions. We have one presentation. Sophia, I told you not to go too far. Come back up, please, Sophia Mitzman. You can give her a round of applause. All right, we're going to move right on to public comment tonight. The City Council values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Council cannot take actions on items not listed on the posted agenda. The public comment period is limited to 20 minutes, with 2 minutes allotted for each speaker. The public comment period is to address the City Council and consent calendar items, other agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present at the time the item is considered, or items of general interest within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Another period is also reserved for general comment later in the meeting for those that could not be heard at this time. Public hearing testimony will only be taken at the time of the hearing. If you go over 2 minutes and do not respond to the city clerk's notification that your time has expired, your microphone will be muted. If you signed up to speak on both consent calendar items and general public comment as well as an item that was moved to the consent calendar, you may take this public comment period to speak on the consent calendar items. You may also sign up to speak during the second public comment period for your general public comment. Lastly, speakers should not bring any items to the podium other than a prepared written statement and/or writing materials. Madam City Clerk, how many public commenters do we have tonight?
We have 6 in council chambers, and we have 2 on Zoom.
Great, we'll go to Zoom first.
Our first speaker on Zoom is Katie Cantrell. Katie, you'll have 2 minutes. Please press *6 to unmute. Looks like Katie has dropped off. We'll go to Alex Sarusi. Alex, please press star 6. You'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. This is Alex Carusi. On behalf of Mercy for Animals, a nonprofit dedicated to building a just and sustainable food system, and our thousands of West Hollywood supporters, I sincerely thank City Council for supporting item 5A. West Hollywood's Climate Action and Adaptation Plan provides that every aspect of a food system, from production to distribution, intersects with the climate crisis, and that food production is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. This policy is a strategic step towards combating the climate crisis. Thank you so much for taking action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back here in chambers.
Our next speaker is Leah Kelly.
Oh, is she back? Great.
My name is Leah Kelly. I'm a local Los Angeles resident representing the national environmental nonprofit Center for Biological Diversity and our many California supporters. And we are happy to support a climate-friendly food policy for West Hollywood. Climate-friendly food procurement can dramatically reduce the city's climate impact. Half of all food emissions come from meat and dairy. Sustainable policies that focus on plant-based foods can increase climate resilience, improve public health, and protect water and biodiversity. The urgency of these issues demand action in climate-friendly municipal food policy. West Hollywood has an opportunity to take a strong step forward towards these goals. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more?
Yes, Mayor, we have one more that joined. Erin Kamen, you'll have 2 minutes. Please press star 6. And it looks like he dropped off, so we'll go back to chambers. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. We have 6 in chambers. And then the first one is Jamie Baker. And then I don't have it on my screen, so whoever you want to show me is next is great, or we'll just have fun.
Good evening, Mayor Harrison, Vice Mayor Byers, Council, and City staff. My name is Jamie Baker, Executive Director at Being Alive. I want to take a moment and thank you for your support of naming August 31st Overdose Awareness Day in the city. As you may know, Being Alive has operated a harm reduction program in West Hollywood with your kind support and leadership since 2019. Our program has grown significantly since then, and we now have 4 locations throughout LA County. I'm thrilled to tell you that we'll be opening a harm reduction center in West Hollywood at 7976 Santa Monica on July 9th. It will be open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Residents and visitors to the area can come in, pick up free Narcan, fentanyl test strips, xylazine test strips, and other harm reduction supplies at no cost. We will also offer free trainings on how to recognize and treat opioid overdoses. In 2023, participants at our West Hollywood location, then only open 1 day a week, reported 94 overdoses and 87 lives saved. So far this calendar year, there have been 36 overdoses in West Hollywood and 30 saves reported to our agency. Being Alive pledges to be an active partner in your efforts on August 31st Overdose Awareness Day to ensure everyone has access to life-saving Narcan and other tools to reduce potential deaths while improving the lives of all residents and visitors to West Hollywood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie, and welcome back to West Hollywood.
Our next speaker is Steve Martin, followed by Mikey Friedman.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Just want to remind people, August 6th, National Night Out. It's a great party. We look forward to meeting with our law enforcement, fire personnel, and of course the city council members and staff people. But it's also a great way to meet your neighbor and to start participating in your neighborhood, because stronger neighborhoods make for better government. You know, we opened the meeting with the land acknowledgement, and I guess I don't really have a big problem with that. I mean, other than it seems somewhat performative and masturbatory. I think that perhaps it might be better that we open the meeting with a reading of the city's statement of values, because I think it would be a big inspiration and a reminder to the council and staff that we're here to serve the people and keep their interest first. That's not what we've seen lately, particularly as head of the East Side Neighborhood Watch, gardeners within our jurisdiction, and there was no outreach telling people that their parking was going to be taken away. And I see some head shakings, and I can tell you, and we can get into it sometime. And also, there's a lot of concerns about reducing Fountain to one lane in either direction, and with the protected bike lanes, and how that's going to work with emergency response vehicles, because there hasn't been a lot of, to my knowledge, there was not a report back from the fire department. So at the end of the day, I think we should be focusing on trying to make sure that we make our policies and our decision-making as inclusive as possible. I mean, we've done better in the past, we can do better in the future, and I appreciate your patience.
Thanks, Steve. Look forward to getting that coffee with you soon. Mikey Friedman, to be followed by who, Lulu?
Jimmy Palmieri.
Jimmy Palmieri. Thank you so much.
Mikey Friedman, West Hollywood, and I am sick of you putting pedestrians last. You defend scooter riders, bike riders, delivery robots, but not pedestrians, and that sucks. Our mayor was quoted as saying that improving the infrastructure will make it safer for pedestrians because scooters and e-bikes won't have to operate on the sidewalks. But right now there is no improved infrastructure, and scooters are putting pedestrians in danger every single day. If, as you say, pedestrians won't be safe until the infrastructure has been improved, shouldn't we be suspending the scooter program until it is and we are safe? I see scooters abandoned everywhere. 2 were blocking my sidewalk for hours. They should have been removed and fined by Lime, but they weren't. Lime probably placed them there on purpose for easy access for their riders. They do that. And what about delivery robots? I saw our mayor celebrating their decorations. Decorated or not, those little suckers are dangerous to pedestrians. I don't have time to go into bikes because the increase in crime to pedestrians is more pressing. Larrabee, The Addition, Alden, Robertson, armed robberies have become a daily thing. Can you honestly say that fewer sheriffs and guns will keep us safer? Block by Block brags that they escort people to their cars or homes. Newsflash, unarmed escorts cannot stop guns and knives. We need armed sheriffs and technology to keep us safe. Bravo to the Larrabee robbery victims who came to the Public Safety Commission meeting last Monday and put a human face to this mess. By the way, I've noticed that sometimes when people come here or call in to comment, those 2 minutes are important to them, so please don't text or check your emails. Pay attention to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikey. We'll make sure Marcia doesn't hear what you said about her.
And you know what? I'm tired of you making
Mikey?
a snarky comment to me every time I speak.
Mikey?
Every time
Mikey?
I speak, you have something
Mikey?
snarky to say.
Mikey.
Adios.
Have a wonderful evening, Mikey. Thank you so much for your public comment. Next up, Commissioner Jimmy Palmieri.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Jimmy Palmieri, City of West Hollywood since 1994, believe it or not. I'm coming to you tonight. We all had a happy Pride. I love Pride, as all of you know, or some of you know. I've been doing it for more than 20 years. But this year was a little bit different because when we came in on Sunday, everything was gone. Our booth was destroyed, and thousands, and I literally mean thousands of dollars of items that were donated for us to give away for our Carnival Prize were taken. It's very, very sad because, as many of you know, my volunteers come in the morning and they never leave. They want to be there the whole time. We all truly enjoy Pride. I'm a little bit curious, though, because we were told that there was going to be overnight security, and seemingly there wasn't. So I don't know who was supposed to provide this. I don't know if the If the promoter, I don't know if it was city, I don't know if it's the sheriff, but someone should have at least walked by. And I need to tell you, it wasn't done in 3 minutes in my booth because boxes and boxes and wagon was taken away. So there was some time, and they made mud and threw it all over. A curious thing, and this is the most upsetting part, we had a transgender colored garland, and we had unicorns for we always want everyone to be welcome and feel welcome in the booth. They were taken down and stomped and ripped apart, and then I was told at the trans booth that all of their items were urinated on. So I don't think that these things happened by accident, and it's really upsetting and really distressing. This is a safe city, but it's also a target. We become a target at times, and unfortunately, I think we were targeted a little bit at Pride. Again, I love Pride. There has to be some way to secure all of our things. Thank you.
Jimmy, thank you for your comment, and I want you to know the last city council meeting, I had heard about this, so in my comments, I asked our staff to look into what happened and to come up with a better security plan. And if you want to chat with, I don't see Danny Rivas and great
Kathy
back
here.
there tonight, maybe there'll be some responses to that. Thank you.
Kathy Blavis is our next speaker. Is that the last of the in-person speakers, Lulu?
It's followed by Mike Carter.
Mike Carter, sounds good. Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening, Kathy Blavis, City of West Hollywood. Regarding the last City Council meeting, item 6A, the agreement for tenacity. I was outraged and livid at the hypocrisy. Everyone should go back and compare the March 18th City Council meeting, item 5A, Willoughby Vista Gardner Plan, bike lanes and loss of parking. Mayor Erickson, I quote you from that meeting to staff. It's not as if you sent postcards telling residents they would lose parking, but they were notified, right? Staff said no. It was asked over and over again if all knew the community, if you knew the community had not been notified. No outreach, no input, and yet council majority approved the item. At the last City Council meeting, 6A, a 3-year contract for tenacity, you decided a 6-month trial instead in order to get input from community, even though you received a petition with 200 signatures in support and many others spoke and communicated. Here are some of the quotes from your last meeting. Councilmember Shine said, I am deeply concerned when I hear that community is not being heard. Getting input weighed into scoring would make me feel better, that we have actual community input before considering. Mayor Erickson, in the future, have public facilities commission more involved so we can have recommendations and be assured that the process is followed, the public is engaged, we have feedback, and then it's up to us to make a decision. And Vice Mayor Byers stated, tennis versus pickleball. The community is at odds with each other. This process hasn't been representative of everyone. Community felt unheard. And yet, regarding loss of parking, you would happily inconvenience resident motorists. Picking and choosing when to include community input is not our process. I would like 5A to be revisited with community input. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And then Mike Carter is our last speaker in chambers. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Carter, and I want to thank you for item 2N. The Owls Neighborhood Watch is having a pajama party for National Night Out, so we're asking you to come and eat and dance and enjoy the evening in your favorite loungewear. And if you need a place to change, please find me and we'll fix you up. A walkable city and West Hollywood are synonymous. Scooters and bots on the sidewalks are no dream. 23 tickets to scooter riders in May is significant news. With regard to bots, their speed in the pathway they cut on the sidewalk has become more aggressive. If we reclaim sheriff vehicles we forfeited at $47,000 each, I'm sure deputies will play nicely in deciding who gets to drive them. Bittersweet, the monarch is once again one step closer to the endangered species list, and it's National Pollinator Month. For the good, locally there has been a huge surge in the sale of native milkweed, key to its survival, since this city took a pledge to help protect the monarch a few years back. A coming demonstration garden near the Romaine Yard and a monarch page on the city's website. Dogs old and new can learn a new trick or two to help the monarch. The drama unfolds on the Gardner Avenue stage. I exaggerate slightly for purposes of dramatic emphasis, but where what's happening is none the less than blood sport among the citizenry there, with bicycle safety pitted against vehicles, parking, in a spectacle to behold that could have been avoided if there had been a plan presented to the people to mitigate loss of parking in the first place. Safe transit for bicyclists through the city is 40 years coming. Community gardeners are anxious to have rescued our new digs at Plummer Park. No, not from the recent aphid attack, but from its monochromatic state. There's a gala in September. Please come.
Thank you so much, Michael, for your comment. That concludes public comment. Wow, what a fun time tonight. We're going to move right along to city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. Just have one announcement tonight. In partnership with Visit West Hollywood, the city has launched a marketing effort to support local businesses called WeHo Loves Locals. Businesses within the city are participating by providing offers that are promoted exclusively to West Hollywood residents. Residents can access the list of participating businesses and offers at www.weholocals.com. And regarding the Pride booths, I am sorry about what happened to the booths during Pride. We are continuing to work with JJLA and our public safety partners to look into what happened that evening, but as well as Councilmember Shine said, ensuring that we have better safety protocols in place for next year's events. But someone will be in touch with you, Jimmy, regarding your booth. That concludes my comments.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, what is the fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar?
Thank you, Mayor. The fiscal impact with the addition of items 4A, 5A, 6C, 6E, noting the no vote from Councilmember Meister on items 2F, 2G, and the exclusion of item 2M and 2R is $7,816,847 in expenditures, $306,050 in revenues, and $600 in waived fees. I also need to read 4A, the ordinance for the record. An ordinance of the City of West Hollywood amending West Hollywood Municipal Code Section 2.08.07B to increase compensation for city council members to $1,724 with 49 cents per month, and a resolution increasing the stipend amount paid to advisory board and commission members to $100 per meeting.
Lovely. We have a motion and a second. We'll go to the vote. It passes 5-0, noting Councilmember Meister's 2 no votes. Wonderful. All right, 3A, 3B, and 3C were all tabled. We are going to go to item 3D. Request to replace an existing one-sided static billboard with a new two-sided full-motion digital billboard at 8501 Sunset Boulevard in conjunction with new interior and exterior building and site improvements. The public hearing is now open. Madam City Clerk, how was this item noticed?
As required by law.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna, if my colleagues are okay with it, we've already heard significantly about this item. I would love staff's presentation to just focus on the additional items and comments or feedback that you are going to be giving on what we provided the last meeting, and then we'll go to questions, and then if there's any public testimony, and then we'll come back. Sound good? All right. Oh yes, do we have disclosures?
No. Yes, I met with the applicant.
Thank you. I met with the applicant and visited the site. Well, I spoke with the applicant and discussed items and staff and went to the site.
I spoke to the applicant, and I've also been to the site.
Thank you.
I went to the site.
Wonderful. Now, staff, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's Brian League with the I'm Property Development Manager, and we are going to give a very short presentation. Following up on the discussion and council input from May 6 for the development agreement, zoning map amendment, and permits for the sign permit at 8501 Sunset, which is replacement of a single-sided traditional sign with a two-sided digital sign, we've made the following changes to the development agreement, staff's recommendation, and the items that were before you. We've revised the use of the community space, and we're recommending it be used for West Hollywood small businesses, which would provide free workshop space, and per your direction for that would be for up to 75% of that space. The 25% of the usable space remaining would be for the billboard operator or tenant. And of that space, we still have the occupancy requirement where 50% of the space is required to be occupied during the term of the development agreement. If that's not, occupancy is not met, then there'd be a 25% increase in revenue. So those were the main items based on council's discussion for the use of the site improvements. The other items that I want to bring to your attention were, there was a comment on the West Hollywood Gateway project. We've deleted that reference to the development agreement. The debt relief credit, there was questions about debt relief with no interest. That's been deleted from the development agreement. And we clarified the term from fair market value to projected gross annual revenue, which was what the development agreement revenue calculations were based off. So those are the changes that we picked up from your discussion on May 6th, and those were what we've reflected in the development agreement, staff report, and recommendations.
Thank you so much. I'll go to questions from my colleagues on these items. Councilmember Howman, do you have any questions?
Just one clarification. One of the issues last time was who was going to oversee the business activity inside, and there was this idea that the city was going to do it, and we kind of rejected that. It seems like the proposal has gotten rid of that, and now this is all going to be overseen by the sign company who will be occupying the premises.
You're correct on that, Councilmember Howman.
Good, thank you.
Lovely. Vice Mayor Byers, do you have anything? Councilmember Meister, do you have any questions?
Yeah, one of the comments that I had was on 3.4.5 on obstruction, and in the paragraph towards the end, it says the parties further acknowledge and agree that nothing in this agreement, including this subsection, shall serve to impair, limit, or diminish owner's right to comment upon, object to, or legally challenge. Did we add the word private to make it private development? In the line where it says, or legally challenge a development project in the vicinity of the property. So did we change that to legally challenge a private development project? In other words, not the city's project, which is the Gateway project.
We're fine with that change if the council.
Okay. I think the language wasn't changed because instead the entire gateway, protection of any gateway signs was removed. So I think the language was changed in response to your comments, but in a slightly different way.
Okay. All right.
Wonderful.
That answers my question.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Stein, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. I do not as well. Would the applicant's team like to provide a brief presentation?
Mayor, this is going to be blessedly brief. Jeff Seymour Consulting Group, Westlake Village. I really have come up here to thank you. The input that you had provided us has created, I think, I'm not the only one, our lead developer and owner of Big Outdoor, Brad Berkeley, is here today to speak to you. We all owe you a debt because we believe this project now is far superior to the project that we brought in May, and we really liked the project in May. So we're very pleased to thank you for the work that you've done. Also, I want to thank staff for the assistance they have provided. Just for the record, we are supporting all of the conditions set forth both in the entitlement and also in the DA. We are here to respond to any questions you may have, and we look forward to your deliberation.
Thank you so much. Yes, Councilmember Meister.
Question for you, Jeff. One of the requirements is that at least 50% of the building be occupied. Would you be okay with a change to at least 50% occupied on the ground level?
We would accept anything that the City Council has created for tonight.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Want to ask for something else? No, I'm joking. Sorry, don't sit too soon. I'm sorry, I don't want to cause any, don't need any outbursts, Jeff. Yes. What? We have a comment on Zoom? All right. So if that concludes the questions aspect, we'll go to public comment. Each person will have 2 minutes, and we have one only in Zoom. Great.
Correct. Aaron, go ahead. You'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, guys. Good evening. My name is Aaron Kamen. I'm a board member of the Hillview Sunset Plaza Neighborhood Association, and we represent 2,000 households in the area above the Sunset Strip. Our concerns about digital billboards are related to traffic safety for our residents and light trespass into our homes. We are grateful for your recent efforts to be attentive to light trespass. As we've said in the past, the intersection of Sunset, Miller, and La Cienega is quite confusing. The City of West Hollywood clearly agrees, as we do too, that this intersection is undergoing a redesign. You're likely familiar with the intersection, but the hazards we note are: 1, the challenges of making a left turn onto Miller Drive due to the geometry of the intersection, and 2, the incomplete visibility afforded drivers northbound on La Cienega due to the slope of the street. Many of our stakeholders make that left turn frequently, and because of where we are situated, we rely on West Hollywood to provide us with safe passage along Sunset Boulevard. There are 3 billboards, most of or all with multiple faces, proposed for this intersection, and one is 3D. We believe that the 3 together may cause quite a significant hazard and increase in driver confusion and distracted. No study has been conducted that considers this. For traffic purposes, each billboard has only been studied individually, not collectively. Further, when the city approved the Sunset specific plan, full motion did not appear to be permitted, and the relative safety of full motion seems to be unstudied. We are asking the city to please fulfill the requirements of the CEQA Act by studying the cumulative impact on drivers.
Thank you so much, Aaron. We're going to go back here to Chambers. Steve Martin. I believe that is our only public commenter as Steve comes down. Great.
Well, I might ask for a contribution for our National Night Out.
Aren't you on the agenda for technically?
If you put me on. No, thank you guys for your work on this. I did have some complaints and some concerns about how for lack of better reason, the retail space would be used, and I think you guys took it in the right direction. This is a better project, and one thing I do like is that they have their whole team here today. I think they knew they were going to get the votes, but out of respect, they've got everybody here, so if anybody's got questions, it just seems to me like they're not taking anything for granted, and I think that's a good sign of respect to both the council and the community. So anyway, thank you for your work.
Thank you so much, Steve. All right, that concludes the public testimony portion of the public comments. I'm now going to close the public testimony portion of the public hearing, and we'll move to council deliberations. Councilmember Meister, would you like to go first?
My light went on. Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to add to the conditions on the 50% occupancy to qualify it by saying that it's 50% occupied, a minimum of 50% occupied on the ground floor level.
It's there, I believe.
It says ground floor?
Does it say ground floor, Lauren?
No, it says
it doesn't.
rentable floor
Rentable
area
floor.
in
Okay.
4.9. But we can change that to ground floor.
If my colleagues would do that, because that's the big concern, is that the ground floor be activated. Thank you.
All right. Is that your only, does that conclude your comments, Councilmember Meister? Wonderful. Councilmember Shine, do you have any comments?
I just want to say I'm really thankful that the applicants took our comments to heart and came back with an incredible offering of offering small businesses a workspace. This is a wonderful incubator, and I hope that this becomes a model that is replicated in other cities and places. So I'm supportive of this project.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Heilman.
I'm also supportive. I'd like us to add language, if we haven't done so already, that allows us to reopen in the event that there are documented traffic problems caused by this. I think we added that as a condition to another billboard, and I'd like us to offer the same one or add the same one to this as well.
It's not in there, but let me check the minutes from the last meeting because I can probably find the language pretty easily.
While you're checking the minutes, Vice Mayor Byers, do you have any comments on this item?
I'm supportive of this. I mean, it's been 34 years vacant, something like that on the Sunset Strip, my entire lifetime. I'm just really looking forward to the new life this will bring to this area for the next 30 plus years.
Thank you so much. I'm supportive of all the conditions. I want to thank the members of the public that spoke. I guess my question, and I should have asked this at the last meeting to Councilmember Heilman, how do you define like a public safety incident on the Sunset Strip? Like, is it like in the police report, would it say the person like was mesmerized by the billboard and crashed into something? Or like, how do we define that in that way? It seems this vague.
Yeah, and I think Lauren came up with some language that addressed that to some degree. Obviously, we don't want it to, you know, if there's a car accident at La Cienega and Sunset, which there are all the time, we don't want to blame the sign company for that. But if we do have evidence-based documentation that shows that the signage is causing traffic safety concerns, obviously we need to address that. I think I'm feeling fairly confident that it won't, but I think we want to make sure that the city has the option to address that with the company if there is a safety problem.
Thank you so much. That helps.
Okay, so
City Attorney Lang.
here's the condition that we read into the record at the last meeting, and we could add a new section 8.29 to this agreement as well, which says, notwithstanding anything herein, the parties agree to meet in good faith and negotiate appropriate amendments in the event of documented safety problems in the intersection that result from the billboard. The parties agree to reopen if safety problems result from the billboard.
I'm comfortable with that language. All right. Would one of my colleagues like to make a motion? All right, we got a motion and a second. We'll take a vote.
With the additions.
I'm sorry, yes. Yeah. We have a motion and a second with the two added conditions. You got that all? Great. All right. And it passes 5-0. Thank you so much. 6:46. You're welcome. All right, that concludes the public hearing section. 4A was moved to consent. 5A was moved to consent. 5B. Do my colleagues want a full budget presentation, or do we want to go right to questions? Do you want a presentation? Questions? All right. Questions? All right. I know you worked very hard, city staff, on the presentation, but if it's okay with you, we'll just go right to questions. Do you want to start?
With comments and questions, so I can wait.
Sounds good.
Nope, I don't have questions.
Do you have any questions on the budget, Councilmember Heilman? I do. All right.
First of all, thank you for all of your work in putting this together. I know that we're trying to get through it quickly tonight, but I know that it really takes a great deal of your time. Almost from when we adopt the budget, you're beginning to work on next year's budget, so I want to thank you. There is a a section of this where the population is listed, and it's listed, there's two different numbers. So I don't know if you caught that already, but hopefully that will get cleared up. Many years ago, we had a policy that we would ensure that there would be $1 million put into the Housing Trust Fund every year, and I don't know if that is addressed here, and I don't know if you are able to respond to that.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Heilman. My name is Christine Sabrett. I'm the assistant to the city manager, formerly the budget officer. Yes, we have been following that policy. It is part of our practices and procedures, and we make sure that every year at least $1 million is added to the fund balance in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess my other things maybe, no, I do have one thing that is more on the comment side, and that, or question side. The ARC, right? The facility that is serving the community. I notice a lot of times during the day there isn't a lot of programming in there. I've gotten questions from seniors who are wondering why we don't have any senior programming. I've noticed on Saturday that it is closed at 4:30. On the weekend, that seems very early, especially since a lot of people are not able to use it during the week. And I'm wondering, what is the plan in terms of additional programming there and additional activities there? Is that something that is addressed in the budget, or is that something that we would need to have a discussion about?
So as part of the budget, one of the things that is included in the budget is hiring a part-time executive level person with expertise in recreation to do an analysis of the ARC. This would be someone who's here, like part-time, actually with the staff, looking at the programming and how things are working, and then working with the deputy city manager along with the recreation staff on implementing any changes from there. Initially, we did have analysis done by outside consultants when we were building the ARC and as it opened. I think at this point we need someone who's spending more time, like daily, looking at how the programs are being run and the staffing levels for those programs. And then we plan to come back either at mid-year or at the next budget to implement those changes.
Thank you. I mean, I'll just give my comment. I think we need more people to implement programs there rather than an outsider to look at what we're doing currently. But we'll get into that, I suppose, when we have this brought back to us. Thank you.
Those are all your questions, Councilmember Hellman?
I do have some comments, but
okay.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Sounds good. Vice Mayor Byers, do you have any questions? Sorry. I just have a few. I'm in the capital projects book right here. First of all, thank you very much. It's a very well done. It kept me up till 3 in the morning last night, vividly. It was so exciting. But there's a lot of exciting projects going on here, and I just want to make sure I'm getting some of my dates correct. So specifically, I'm on page 439 in this book regarding fiber optic cable and wireless infrastructure. I see the citywide broadband feasibility study came back at a $20 million price tag, so it's a little too high. What or is in this section there any type of short-term fixes to allow for quicker installation? For example, WeHo Wi-Fi doesn't work at all the parks necessarily. And if that's the first time you're hearing of it, there you go. But we're going to have, the last sentence says, the city should be able to have enough information about next steps by June 2024. Well, it's June 2024, and this is our last meeting in June, so I'm wondering what the next steps are.
Thank you. Eugene, you want to come up? Thank you. Eugene Sipis, our IT manager, will provide a response for you.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Eugene Tippis. I'm the IT manager for the city. So to answer one of your questions is, the Wi-Fi should be working in all of our parks. We do have some issues with Wi-Fi access points being removed in Aquatic and Rec Center Park area because of some of the lights that were taken down. But otherwise, everything should be working. If there's any issues with gaps in coverage, we could certainly address that. But I haven't heard a lot about those complaints. Wi-Fi is very tricky because it depends not only on the access points, but actually devices that people use. So experience may vary. As far as your questions about the broadband, so we are in the process of finalizing our broadband study to be able to identify whether creating a city broadband is something that the city is feasible for the city or the city should do. It's not finished yet. We're kind of wrapping a couple of things up, but we should be able to present you with a full proposal in the near future. And the idea behind it is the $20 million that's in the budget. It was related to building out fiber infrastructure for the city's use. And part of that was we had a project that was coming online. It came in at around $20 million on Sunset and Santa Monica Fiber Loop. And so the city decided to table that because that came way over budget. And we decided to wrap that project in with a broadband study to do it all in one swoop and hopefully reap some economies of scale.
Great, thank you. That answers my question. Hart Park doesn't have Wi-Fi, so just add it to your list to check into.
Absolutely. So the broadband study includes bringing fiber and Wi-Fi to all city parks.
Wonderful. That concludes my questions for you, Eugene. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Great. A couple of other questions. On page 452, everyone's favorite topic, the Willoughby Vista Gardner and King Street design. So it sounds like the project kicked off in 2019, Christine? Right? Would there have been community feedback and input at those times? Initial project outreach 2019 to 2022?
Thank you. Those will be the outreach that's been discussed prior during various meetings about the project.
Wonderful. And then I see in 2022 there was a demonstration project of the installations. In 2023, the draft concept plan was developed and shared, and then it was approved in March. Also in fiscal year 2025, there's required agreements with the City of LA. So that could take a number of years before any movement actually happened, correct? What does that development agreement look like? Is there a fiscal cost that would have to come into this conversation?
For specifics on the project, I'll have to bring up our long-range planning manager.
It's okay. I'm okay. I'm just trying to, I'm glad to see that there was a conversation starting back in 2019. Let's move on to 481, Plummer Park facility improvements. One, I want to just commend the city staff on the incredible Comic-Con event. I always get a QCon event that occurred there. But one thing that I noticed that occurred there in Fiesta Hall was it was extremely hot. And I didn't see any improvements or ways that we could keep that, I know, historical, amazing space cooler. But is there any plan check completed for community center upgrades, but is there anything that could be done to cool down Fiesta Hall when hundreds and hundreds of bodies, for an amazing event, by the way, come, but I didn't know if that was ever in the long-range plan of the capital improvements. That's in the budget. Oh, hi, Helen. Sorry, I didn't even see you walk down. You snuck right in.
I'll call you guys up.
I'm sorry, yeah. We actually are in the process of going out to bid for
an architect to help us make improvements to some of the infrastructure at Fiesta Hall and Great Hall, Long Hall as well. And the air conditioning is at the top of that list, because I think it might even be older than, maybe not older than me, but older than a lot of people in the room, so.
It's definitely older than 2 of the 5 council members, so there you go.
Most likely, yeah.
There you go. I don't know everyone's actual age up here, so there you go. So I just probably shaded some of you without needing to. I apologize to my colleagues. And then regarding Hart Park, on page 496, we'll start design planning at the beginning of fiscal year 25. The project status says that. I thought the design planning was had already begun.
That's going to be that's a specific term of art. Most of the concepts, I believe, has been approved, and then the next phase is doing the design and construction drawings.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much. I was just kind of going through this and looking at where that had been. Additionally, I know, to piggyback on, wow, I'm the one with the questions tonight. I'll take your mantle. Regarding Park and Rec staff, I know that one thing when I met with the West Hollywood Residents Association, a lot of the commentary was around staffing, as Councilmember Heilman discussed, for the pools, as well as closures on holidays and everything like that. Is there a long-term plan or staffing plan so that, I know no one wants to work on Christmas or other holidays, but you do get time and a half, but a lot of our residents in this area do like to swim on Christmas or any other holiday. Is that built into your budget long term? Or?
So that's part of what we'll be looking at over the next few months.
Okay, I'll save my other comments on that then for that. All right, that concludes my questions. I think we have one public commenter. All right, we're gonna go open a public comment, and we have Andrew Solomon. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Andrew Solomon, and I'm here on behalf of the Public Facilities Commission. Melissa was in the room when we made the motion. It is really on behalf of the commission. I feel like too often we're up here to complain about something, but tonight I'm up here just to say thank you. Thank you to Melissa, Christine, David. Thank you to Helen and Rick for working with us. Part of our purview as a commission is to put forward budget recommendations to you all to include in this budget. And we went through a lengthy process. We had our own subcommittee on our own commission. We also heard things throughout the year. We voted on things as an entire body. So there is, it's close to 1.3 million that are park specific. It's mostly Plummer Park and some West Hollywood Park items that we've identified throughout the past year that need addressing. And I am, again, thank you. Just very happy to see that all of those items were included into the budget. So we hope that you, as council members, will support the budget tonight, and thank you to staff for working with us.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll go to comments from my colleagues. Councilmember Heilman, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you. I have just a couple of brief comments. One, in the budget is obviously funding for Halloween again, and thank you for that. This year, Halloween is on a Thursday, and I am anticipating that we will likely have people out and about on Friday and Saturday, and I want to make sure that we're planning appropriately. I don't think we can close the street at this late date, but I think it is something that we should be planning for, and we're likely going to need additional public safety resources all weekend long. And I think long-term we should be looking at actually incentivizing businesses to have events on Friday and Saturday so that people can actually travel to West Hollywood for the Thursday night celebration, but also remain here, and that will generate more revenue for the community. My second comment I already made regarding the ARC space and utilizing that fully. The third thing I'd like to get from the city manager, not tonight obviously, but the signs that we have approved, they generate revenue, and I know that that is anticipated in the budget. But my understanding is that there are a lot of signs that are in process and have been delayed for a long time. And you know, that's a problem from the sign company standpoint, but from the city standpoint, if those are approved, that's a loss of revenue if they're delayed unreasonably. So I'd like to see a plan for getting those reviewed and evaluated, and before the council, either collectively as a group or individually, but it seems like they just drag on and on and on without any real focus on getting them done. And then finally, you brought up during your comments the WeHo Loves Locals, and I think that's a great program. I got a mailer at my home and didn't indicate where it was from. It wasn't, in my mind, really inviting. So I think that program needs to be looked at to see how we can improve it, because it's a great program and we want to continue to support local businesses, but I think it could have been done a little bit more effectively. So those are my comments on the budget overall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Heilman. Councilmember Meister?
Thank you. Happy to share my wish list now. And these are, some of these are things that I've been hearing from residents for a long time. So with regard to ARC programming, I know that when 24-hour fitness closed, that we had a lot of people who were long-term, customers of that place that had nowhere to go and felt that the city should be providing fitness training classes, weight training classes, and especially geared towards seniors. So I'd like to see something like that. I know that residents would love to be able to access our Wi-Fi from their homes, so that's another issue. I would like to see that if with regard to our housing trust fund, if we do go over in terms of revenue, projected revenue, that we also allocate additional funds to the housing trust fund out of that, and maybe we say that, 10% of anything that we go over in terms of what actually comes in versus what's projected gets added to the housing trust fund, in addition to the $1 million that we allocate in this budget. So it wouldn't be necessarily this budget, but a policy basically saying that we would, that when revenues are higher than what we expected, that we give, a certain percentage to the housing trust fund, and if my colleagues agree, maybe a certain percentage to our social services to, increase social services as well. I think that when you're making more than you thought you were going to make, those are the types of things that I would think we should be doing with that money, not just. And I realize that some will go into reserves, but at least we are showing the community that how we spend how we spend our money reflects our values. So, and then the other thing is, I agree with Councilmember Heilman about having more people to implement these programs at ARC. We have this huge facility, and I know that at the time that it was built, that was always a concern with staffing. So hopefully, if we are increasing our revenue, we are also staffing ARC. I wanted to just say that we've had, I've had some conversations with staff about the fact that we need to have stationary cameras anywhere where we hold events, whether it's council chambers or the second floor of the library or ARC, because there are times that we do events that don't require a videographer, which can be expensive, because it's a conversation that's happening where the two people are sitting here having a conversation and they're not moving. So you can have a stationary camera, and that we would be able to replay that programming, you know, on WehoTV. We had an event for Juneteenth, and it was probably not as well attended as we would have liked. And it was an interesting conversation that it would have been nice had it been taped, recorded, to be able to play back on our WehoTV. So I think that that's not an expensive thing to add, but it's worthwhile, and it will pay for itself in viewership. I think also, and I'm hoping that Nick can help me here, that we need a program for the planning department like they have in the city of LA with regard to, Nick, help me, is it the permitting process, or it has to do with zoning? But basically, we can't rely on institutional knowledge of others to direct staff. I had an experience where I know that something was zoned a certain way for years and years and years. Then someone tried to do something and it wasn't legal, but our staff didn't have the tools to tell that was not legal. And I knew it because I've been around for so long. So I would love for us to support our planning department by providing, Nick, do you want to tell us what exactly it is that LA has?
Sure. Thank you, Council Member. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Members. Nick Marisich, Community Development Director. The program that the City of LA uses is a custom program that they built over a long period of time. It's the ZMIS, or Zone Information Map Access System. It's a pretty comprehensive system that integrates a lot of different data layers with zoning information to be able to inform project planning. As projects are being evaluated through the planning process, it pulls together a lot of that data. We are building out certain tools here. The city in the last year did launch an online interactive zoning map, and that can be accessed through the city's website, where you can pan and zoom into individual properties and see what the zoning is and see information on overlays. It doesn't pull in a lot of other data layers like the county parcel data attributes, other layers that could be useful, as you mentioned, with respect to looking at an individual project. We are launching a new online permitting system as a city, together with multiple departments, later this summer is what's expected. And I think that there will be ways for us moving forward to look to integrate these systems and expand the amount of data that we put into them. As I said before, the system that I'm familiar with from the City of LA, the ZMIS system, was something that was custom built over a very long period of time. They also have a full team of people to maintain. That's another important aspect to having that type of system, is to maintain it as data gets updated over time. So I think we're making some strides in that space, and we would certainly appreciate support so that we can continue to enhance those tools moving forward.
Right, and so I just want to make sure that our budget will be able to handle doing that, because in the long run, it makes our staff more efficient and we get more accurate information. And then I could, not have to be, screaming up and down. I know that this is the way it was. So
I think we'll have a better sense once we launch the online permitting system about what additional tools that's bringing to us. And then that's something we could look into, at that subsequent stage. Like I said, we will have this new tool available later this summer, and then figuring out the next step about how do we pull in some of these additional data layers.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick, for explaining that. And then lastly, I just, I want to make sure that we will have funding if, when we do hear more from our public safety division about, or community safety division about technology and different versions of security personnel, I want to make sure that we can, if we have council majority to support it, that we'll have the money to do it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Meister. And you don't scream at anyone, so you're fine. You never scream. Councilmember Shine.
Thank you. This is actually a question. With regard to the 24/7 mobile behavioral health crisis response units, are those now fully funded?
They are fully funded. Part of our funding involves county grants, and part of our funding is from the city. And I am not 100% sure if we are 24/7 yet in our operations, but I know we are building towards coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And the last time I had asked this, I was told that it would be around September. That was a target date. Do you know a target date, or is Christopher?
Christoph.
After this, Christoph. Did I say Christopher? Christoph. Sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Excuse me. I'm Christoph Schroeder. I'm the Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization for the city. That is still projected. There are a couple of variables we're working towards, and we just brought on the new Human Services Manager today, was her first day, that will be assisting us in moving that forward.
Great. How is the community outreach going with regard to residents knowing about the service? How are we gauging this?
The latter. We're really trying to make sure that we have all of the programmatic work lined up and it's functioning well before we start launching out into the community, but it will be very shortly, and we're really excited to be moving forward with that program.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And a lot of the things that I was going to address have been addressed by my colleagues, and I want to say I also agree with Councilmember Heilman that WeHo Loves Local flyer I got was kind of like, what is this? It just said WeHo Loves Locals, and I don't know what it was, so.
And that's something that we've worked with Visit West Hollywood on, and they did the promotion and marketing, but we will work with them to update those flyers.
Maybe they forgot to put something on the other side of it because there was nothing on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Byers.
Thank you. I had the honor of serving on the subcommittee for the budget this year, our 3 meetings, and just really want to thank staff for all the hard work on this. It's our work plan for the next 2 years, and it's a really exciting thing ahead. A couple things I just want to uplift, and this was something that we moved on consent, but the increase of reserves from 25 to 35% is really exciting for us as a city. I think it elevates us and is a significant investment for us to make. I'm really happy to see the addition of 2 planning positions. We've been talking so much about how we get development on track in the city, and really looking forward to having that additional capacity for us. The rec team capacity as well. Sounds like there's a lot of ideas about how we make those spaces more vibrant for our community, and we will be doing so. On that note too, the city playhouse being funded as our own staff position, I just think is the really exciting, amazing move, and really happy that we're moving in that direction. I appreciate Councilmember Meister's note about social services. I had a similar note. I know in the last budget cycle we had a significant increase in social services, and this time was mostly around cost of living expenses. And I'm looking forward to, in the next cycle, seeing how we can add more funding to that space in our programming. I noticed that historically in the budget that the importance of parking meters and fines has been important to our budget, and that revenue is down, but costs to maintain the parking program are up. So it's something I'm just going to be thinking about in the future, not necessarily here, but just wanted to sort of name that. I was really glad to see that something that Councilmember Heilman and I had been working on for the last couple of years, more funding for the Mishka Festival, that's just baked into this budget, so I don't think we have to do an item next year, Councilmember Heilman. And in general, I noticed that in 2026, the public art and beautification line was down, but I do know that the billboard program on Sunset especially has been a huge opportunity for us to bring more of that public art and beautification. So in that way, as we invest further into that program, we see that investment grow. And just in general, I mean, this is a tremendous body of work. We're a really ambitious city, and I'm really excited and proud of everything that we're seeking to accomplish here. And again, just thank you to all the many, many people who have been envisioning this for many years and bringing all these pages and numbers together. It's a real honor to get to support this, and looking forward to doing so tonight. Over to you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to thank our public commenter for tonight. It's great to see our investment in our public facilities. I want to thank staff as well for their hard work. It's so great to be in a city where we have not only such a public process, other cities I found out don't even ask their public or hold public meetings about their budget. They just put it on a council meeting and they're like, here you go. So I discovered that at the U.S. Conference of Mayors this past week, and it was really great to see the participatory nature of our process. And I really want to thank staff for all the hard work that you put into it. I want to re-echo what Vice Mayor Byers said in item 2Q. This is something that when we stepped into office, Councilmember Shine and I, the city, was facing an economic downturn and came back very quickly. But how do we reinvest in our general reserves, not only from 25%, but to 35% of making sure our rainy day fund is funded, so that way, if something ever were to happen again, we are ready as a city to provide those critical social services. That's not going to get written about in the press. It should be. This city is making a 10% increase in the rainy day funds. So if anything horrible happened, we can continue to do that. Hasn't been changed since the city's inception, I believe, was the original part of the ordinance when we were looking at it. That is a statement of values if I ever really see one. You're not adding another special event. You're saying, you know what, let's put this money away for a rainy day. And it's really important. And I'm really thankful we had to queue on consent. And I hope people really understand that the investment we're making. Additionally, in regards to the budget, it is a statement of priorities. And when I look at what we have here, it's not only a statement in public safety and community safety, in the arts, in community events and programming, in social services, in every way that we look at what makes a city whole and continuing to expand. It's a statement of our values. A budget reflects what the values of your city really are. We can have that commentary at the beginning of every meeting, but I think ultimately having someone take this book home tonight and say, go read it, and show us where your tax dollars are going. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, the amount of work. And I can tell you that cities are jealous of West Hollywood. We have our gripes. It's okay. It's West Hollywood, That's fine. I love it, right? But at the end of the day, we're investing in our community. So I just really want to say that. And with that, a few comments outside of this. I would like to echo the expanded programming of the ARC. One thing that I don't think we do that I would love to see is open swim. I know that this is a beautiful pool. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. Rec staff, I'm so sorry. You're probably like, oh my God, don't, But well, actually, you always say yes because you always want to do more for our community, and I'm really thankful for that. But yesterday, I was at the park, and it was hotter than Hades, and I wanted to just go jump in the pool. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I could go swipe my thing, get a lane. I didn't wear my swim trunks, but I would really love to see us develop an open swim program. It is one of the only pools that is actually as accessible as it is to the public, and I would really think that's a huge benefit to our community, especially the health benefits of that for our seniors and people with disabilities and everyone, just for a good old fun time. Additionally, I would love to see an update on what we're getting on our stationary cameras. I saw the public safety investment, but I understand that there are already cameras installed everywhere, and we can have that conversation, or it can come to us later. But to piggyback off of what Councilmember Meister said, when we reinvest and continue to invest in community safety with all the technology and everything, and Danny, is Captain Mulder here? No? Well, my understanding is just for clarity's sake, we aren't able to, if this council right now said we wanted to hire 10 more deputies, the county department doesn't even have them to give to us, correct?
That is correct.
So continuing to invest in community safety when it becomes available is important, and the technology pieces will help. But understanding that budgetary process of how we even buy for or contract for services is really critical. And I understand some community members want more, some want less, whatever it is. But even if we all said, yes, let's get more right now, we couldn't even get them, correct?
Based on the county's position right now with hiring, I won't say it's a hiring freeze because they're not saying it's a hiring freeze, but they are not providing new deputies for any cities right now while they continue to try to fill the positions they currently have.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just think that's important because as people are out there saying more deputies, or whatever it is, you should know how the budget works. But most importantly is this PIO position we keep talking about that's at the city that is a community liaison position. Where are we at with that, David?
It's in the same place. So they aren't hiring non-sworn positions either right now at the county sheriff's department. That's where they are. They're focusing on filling their vacant deputy sworn positions right now.
Is there any way we could add that to a staff position for us in a mid-year budget next year? Because I don't see the freeze going away anytime soon, but...
Yeah. We can look at it. The challenge is if it's a staff position, I don't think it's going to provide the functions that the council's looking for. They're not going to be able to have access to the sheriff's department or our station the way someone who's employed by the sheriff's department would.
Thank you. Councilmember Hammond, do you have a comment?
No, are you?
That was my last item. I just wanted to make sure that the public understood where we are in the county side, and that'll be part of my comments later, but I am completely finished. Thank you so much.
I was going to add one additional thing that I didn't see, and that is the fire station on the east side. I know it's not our responsibility, it's the fire district's, but we're going to have to do some of the heavy lifting to try to make that happen. So I'm hoping that that can be included as part of the work plan. I know there were a number of suggestions made tonight in terms of how we treat the reserves and additional things that we might like to see, but I think maybe the prudent thing to do tonight is to approve the budget that has been presented to us and give our city manager and city staff the opportunity to look at the comments that we've made and bring back follow-up items based on the comments that they've heard tonight.
Sounds good. Is that a motion?
It is,
All
and
right.
I'll push my button.
There we go.
We approve.
Thank you
with
so
the
much. We
direction
have a
that's been
motion and
given.
a second on the floor, and then we'll take a vote. Passes 5-0. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and we'll come back with item 6A. We'll be back at, my watch doesn't work, 7:35. And just for the record, I have not had actually any caffeine today. We're going to move on to item 6A. This is the power of God. Revisions to the event co-sponsorship policy. Could we just have a brief staff report about what it all does and something like that?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Andy Lovano. I'm the Community and Legislative Affairs Manager. I'm here with Jennifer Del Toro, the Community and Legislative Affairs Supervisor. So briefly, a co-sponsorship for people that are here or watching. A co-sponsorship is a community event or program in which the city provides support to an outside event organizer, typically a nonprofit or community organization. City support may include waiver of city fees, promotional support, and/or monetary support. Co-sponsorships are currently approved on a case-by-case basis. An event organizer approaches a council member or staff, and the event organizer completes an online application at least 90 days before the event takes place. The co-sponsorship is brought to City Council for final approval. There are some administrative challenges that we currently face in terms of evaluating events because they are on a case-by-case basis, and it is a little difficult to plan because we don't know when events will be coming, and so it makes it difficult for staff as well as the event organizers to plan ahead and make sure facilities are available, staff time is available, etc. So what we are proposing is a new process that includes a biannual application. The new co-sponsorship policy provided as Attachment A in the staff report also includes expanded eligibility and evaluation criteria with the following key updates. It establishes new tiers for monetary support. It requires that the event must take place within the city of West Hollywood or immediately adjacent within 5 blocks. And it limits the event organizer to 1 co-sponsorship award per application period, allowing for up to 2 awards per year. So we think the most important benefits of this new process is transparency and predictability, both for city staff as well as for the event organizers. This process would be consistent with some of the other city programs, specifically the arts grants. The new process details a vetting and evaluation process that's equitable for all of the applications that come forward. And we believe that this improves the planning process for the staff as well as the event organizers. And this revised process is also consistent with co-sponsorship processes in other cities, and we can provide specific examples if you would like more information. So this is a lot of information on this slide, but basically to summarize, we would have 2 application periods in a year. An event organizer would submit an application in July between July and September for an event that would take place in January to June of the following year. The second round, they would submit an application between January and March. Then it would be reviewed, brought to council for approval. Those would be for events taking place July 1 through December 31st. And this is outlining the monetary support. Basically, there would be 3 tiers established for how much funding up to a certain amount events could receive. These tiers are based on the size and scale of the events, from smallest to larger, based on number of anticipated attendees and the venue or facility that's being used. That's a brief summary. Thank you. We're here for any questions or comments.
Thank you so much. I'll start to my left. Councilmember Howman, do you have any questions on this item? We have 1 public commenter, by the way. Great. Any? Okay, wonderful. We'll call our first public commenter. That would be Andrew Solomon. Nope, never mind. We have no public commenters. It's okay, that was a test. We will now move over to comments, and we'll start with you, Councilmember Heilman.
Thank you for putting this together. I know that these kind of events create a large workload and it's sometimes unpredictable. I certainly support the 90-day lead time. I think that's important. I also, I think I'm concerned about having this sort of open call for events, because I'm afraid that what's going to happen is that people are then going to try to put together events just to respond to the open call, even though they aren't really city related or city focused. So I don't want to create a situation where it actually increases your workload rather than decreases your workload. I also think that if we're going to have this kind of open call, there needs to still be a council sponsor or somebody or a commission sponsor for the event. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we're going to have organizations who are not really community-based, but they're going to feel like they can take advantage of our facilities and resources to hold their own events. So I think this needs a little bit more thought still, but I do like the idea that we need more lead time, we need more planning. I just am worried about the request for the sort of open call twice a year for events, that might actually increase the burden on you. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I actually, my concerns were about the open call as well, and maybe for a slightly different reason. And although I do agree with Councilmember Heilman's assessment, I think my concern was that if you do something like that twice a year, I think things happen during the year, and all of a sudden, you know, an event has happened, or a current event, or something that will you know, initiate. It will make us want to do something, have an event, or an organization have an event. So it's hard to plan that type of stuff because we don't know what's going to happen politically or whatever. So I just had concerns about that.
Yeah. Councilmember Shine?
Yes, that was also a concern of mine. So in those instances that something might happen, are we able to still, through council initiation, bring events forward rather than through co-sponsorship?
Yeah, so we have co-sponsored events that is organized by an outside event organizer. And then we also have council-initiated events that are city-sponsored events that CLA staff basically produce and completely put together, sometimes in partnership with community organizations, but that's a city event that is initiated by council members. So that's not included in this policy, and that process would not change.
So we could potentially, if a political thing comes up or something, out of the timeline, do our own council initiated
Yeah, we've
items?
done, like during COVID, for example, we had several COVID panels. We had the well-being panel, you know, the water symposium is an example. That was a city event. It wasn't a co-sponsored event. So as things come up, those events would still happen as you initiate them.
Okay. For me, the 2 times a year seems still not enough time for organizations that might also want to do a co-sponsorship, and maybe we don't want to bring something forward. So maybe increasing that to at least 3 times a year would help me feel better and support this more. And as far as the open call, I don't really share the same concerns as Councilmember Heilman with all of a sudden organizations that are not part of the community, because I believe there was wording in here that says that the organization does need to have ties to West Hollywood, and what was it? Can you read the wording of that?
Maybe put it up on the screen.
Yeah, put it up on the screen. I think that would help.
Are you referring to the actual language in the policy?
Yes.
Okay. I'll find it in a second if you want to continue.
No worries.
Okay. those were the two things that I was concerned about, and 2 times just doesn't seem like enough time for a community to also these organizations that we've worked with. I know you're going to reach out to them to let them know, but there's always a little more leeway, I think, will be important.
So in response, in the eligibility criteria, we've outlined that the event organizer must serve the West Hollywood community and or have demonstrated ties to the West Hollywood community.
Okay. For me, that would be a good way to prevent what I think Councilmember Hyman maybe perhaps was concerned about, which I can understand. I think that kind of gives it a little bit of a wording so staff can take that into account.
And if I could just add, when we were going through an update for the co-sponsorship process, we looked at what other cities are doing. So the city of Culver City has a special events annual process, and it makes it very competitive, and they do monetary support and waiver of fees. But they also allow council to do off-cycle approvals. So if there was something that was urgent that came up, that could be another avenue that we can, incorporate into this process.
Okay. That would be nice to have that option, I guess.
Great. Vice Mayor Byers.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to see something like this move. I know the calendar can get really crazy, and we ultimately want to make sure that when people are doing events in the city, they're of value to them and to the community. I'm looking at this list of co-sponsored events from 2022 and 2023, and I guess I'm looking at specifically what we've been working with in the last couple of years, curious, and this doesn't necessarily have to be something you answer, but just in looking at this, there's some events that are recurring. Like there's an anticipation that folks will have the support, they'll get the co-sponsorship from the city. So I guess if it sounds like we're not ready to move something tonight, getting this far down the road, but maybe there are a few of these events that are more regular to the city, and even looking back in previous years that's the case, that we would want to consider differently before putting this sort of process out there. I do think a process like this is of value. It'll help us align calendars. It just gives more lead time. So I'm open to something like that. And I think it's of greater value to the organizations that are looking for support in homes to know that there's a more robust process than just sort of knowing a council member and asking the right question at the right time of the year. So I think this is a more formal move for us. I just think there's some of these groups that we have been engaging with in ways that'll want us to continue to do that this wouldn't necessarily serve. So just sort of looking at the reality of that list, looking at some of that. There was one other part of this that I wanted to say and I forgot, so I'm sorry. So if you want to go ahead, Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Could you put up the PowerPoint slide of the different?
I think I need waveguide to.
Yep. Thank you, waveguide. So I think for me, I think there's consensus here that we want to get to somewhere. I'm fine with the recommendation for appointed officials to not being able to apply there. Are all my colleagues in agreement on that piece of this item? I'm just wondering if there's certain things we could give direction on and approve tonight and come back with maybe some other things, if that's possible. Great. So we have consensus on the appointed official not being able to apply for co-sponsorships. That's essentially city board and commission members. Oh boy, I should probably open it up. I think I heard that the open call portion was something that we had questions on, so maybe that gets developed a little bit more on what that looks like. I believe we had consensus around the stakeholder definition of like who can apply for this in terms of the groups. So I think that was fine. And then, as my iPad doesn't work, here we go. Come on. Sorry. Here we go. And then the monetary support tier portion, I think we were all fine with as well. Were we all fine with the monetary tier portion of this piece? Great. So I think as long as my colleagues are in agreement, Vice Mayor Byers, I didn't want to forget the thing that you thought about, but I don't want to move on.
Can I ask one question
Sure.
before you make a motion? Councilmember Heilman mentioned that he thinks that the co-sponsorship should be initiated by a council member or the commission. So currently we do have an application available on the website that's open to anyone to submit an application. If those are not in partnership with a council member or a council member's office doesn't let us know that they're participating, then those are initiated by CLA staff. So I wanted to see if you're good with that continuing, or if you would like the policy to have a council member be initiating each of the events. Right now, anyone, an event organizer can just submit an application.
Councilmember Heilman.
Well, I guess my concern is that, given your workload, there are times where I see us putting on an event and it doesn't seem like any of the council members are actually enthusiastic about attending, nor are any commissioners. And I'm not sure why it is that it's an event that we're sponsoring and providing resources for. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a council member supporting it or sponsoring it, but maybe there just needs to be a more robust evaluation of how is this connected to West Hollywood, and is it really serving the community? Because I don't want to see events where there's, you know, a handful of people and a lot of time and effort has been put into it, and it's not resonating with the community for some reason.
So I think that some of the eligibility and evaluation criteria that's outlined in the policy will kind of help with that. So I think we can work on that. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Councilmember Meister?
Yeah, and just to clarify, an organization can rent a space and still do it, just not necessarily get co-sponsored and have parking waived and be given monetary support.
That's correct.
And staff
except
support.
For council chambers. Council chambers is only available as a co-sponsored event.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right. So, well, seeing Vice Mayor Barris, are you good? Okay. So seeing no other comments, I think we can give general direction and consensus tonight on moving forward with the things I just said that I've already forgotten. But essentially, the monetary tiers, who can. Their stakeholder definition of who's applying for this, it's getting clarified regarding the evaluation process, the appointed official no longer being able to receive these types of funds, and then you're going to come back to us with a little bit more information at a later date on the open call section of this, or maybe you'll work it out in the back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a quick question for clarification. So the council would not be adopting the policy tonight, but just giving direction for staff to
Yes.
come back at another time
Yes.
with a more thought-through policy? Okay.
Yeah.
If we can also get clarification on where the event, if it needs to take place in West Hollywood or within 5 blocks of West Hollywood?
Yeah. So, yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, yeah, in fact, I was just thinking about that. I feel like it should be in West Hollywood or, you know, within a few blocks of West Hollywood, unless it's initiated by a council member where there's a relationship, say it's at UCLA, you know, some event, but it shouldn't be, that should be definitely co-initiated by a council member.
I believe we do a lot of events at the LA LGBTQ Center. I believe that's within 5 blocks. Yes. Great. Yeah, Connie Norman is right outside. That might make sense to me. I think that is how we should do it. And also, I think Councilmember Meister is completely right if that type of extra commitment should come from one of our offices. Is that all the direction you need for right now, and you'll come back at a future date?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to We don't need official motions or anything on this because it was just general direction at the moment, correct?
I think that's
Great.
fine.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy and Jennifer. And thank you for preemptively reminding us of what we are going to do in the future when we tell you about these events. Moving on, 6B, agreement for marketing support with West Hollywood Tourism Marketing Fund, DBA Emerald Village, West Hollywood for cannabis marketing and education services, and consider expanding the proposed scope of work. Do we need a staff report on this? I don't need one. Do we need one?
I guess I'm just wondering why Danny is in charge of this instead of economic development or Laura or something. Yeah.
That's a very good question. Before we get to that comment, would we like a brief staff report on this? And then we do have one public commenter, or?
Yeah.
Do you want a staff report? Brief.
Yeah.
And Danny, if you could describe why you are also at the table, that would be great. But I think Councilmember Heilman and Councilmember Meister's point is something maybe David could answer as well.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. Danny Rivas, Director of Community Safety for the city. Also joined on this item is our City Manager, David Wilson, and City Attorney, Lauren Langer. So this item is a proposed agreement given City Council's previous direction back in January of this year to negotiate a marketing contract for our local cannabis industry of up to $50,000. In addition to that, there is a second recommendation that you see reflected on the staff report that brings forth a discussion and a request from staff to gain direction from the City Council as it relates to potentially expanding the scope of work that is here before you this evening, given that there were comments by certain council members made back in May of this year concerning adding some potential additional scope of services. And so that is what this item is before you this evening under the proposed agreement. It does address and take a multi-pronged approach to attract visitors and residents to West Hollywood cannabis businesses and educate them on the responsible use of cannabis. I will just kind of respond to Councilmember Heilman's comment in terms of just saying that when we had our previous Director of Economic Development, who was previous to that in the Community and Legislative Affairs Division, who was spearheading and leading the cannabis items that were being brought forth. The City Council at that time, when that individual left, because of my involvement with the regulatory aspect of it, business license commission hearings, and I worked hand in hand on a lot of those staff reports and the updates, as well as our Neighborhood and Business Safety Division. It made sense at that time in terms of that transition, given that I had the most knowledge and background as it relates to cannabis. So that concludes staff's brief presentation, but again, I just wanted to emphasize again recommendation number 2, because I think that's an important aspect of this item as well.
Thank you so much, Danny, and we always welcome you at the table. We have one public commenter. Are my colleagues okay with us going to the public first? Scott Schmidt, please come on down.
Hi, good evening again. It's Scott Schmidt, resident of West Hollywood, Executive Director at Emerald Village. Good evening, Mayor Erickson, members of council. I will try to keep this brief. Thank you for your support in the past. Thank you for the direction that you gave on May 6th and again on May 20th. I hope you will reiterate that again. I might have been too verbose in the letter that I submitted, but I wanted just full transparency of where we are and how we got here and what the plan and vision is for the future. So I hope you will, A, approve the initial contract and ask staff to come back with another item to provide full funding. So, we're ready to hit the ground running. We've got an event planned on the 20th of July that I think you will all find to be very exciting, but we want to get this done so we can market that to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll go to colleagues, my colleagues. Councilmember Meister, do you want to begin?
Sure. So I am in favor of both recommendations, and looking at the letter from Emerald Village on what the needs are. in order to, the financial needs in order to really have a robust marketing program and an education program. I think that that's something we should definitely consider. I think that, this new industry, we jumped into it and we just sort of said, go for it. And you can't start a new industry like that, and especially when it's not like every city is doing this, and the city of LA is doing it, but they, we've seen them not do it in a way that we would want to do it. And we have marketing people for our hotels and our Sunset Strip, and we have marketing people for our small businesses, and I think that this is an industry that's very specialized, and I think that we need, if we want it to be successful, then we need to be able to market it and not be not be cheap about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Shine, do you have any comments?
No.
Thank you. For Councilmember Heilman.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Danny. I certainly wasn't casting aspersions on your abilities here. But I really do think that, your role is, as you described it, more regulatory, and all of our other marketing type contracts are overseen by economic development. So I hope going forward that this function is like our contract with the chamber and our contract with the Visitors Bureau and our contract with the bids. It's part of marketing our businesses. I'm certainly supportive of this. I'm supportive of the additional direction. There was a provision in here that said that this can't be an agreement for services for producing events. I don't agree with that. I think we can absolutely enter into a contract with Emerald Village for them to do the events that they've done around Pride and around Halloween. I think that's something that we've contracted with other organizations to put on events. So I hope that when this comes back, we'll be looking at events as well. And then my final comment, a little bit off topic, I think this is great. It is a new business, as Councilmember Meister said, but I'd also like to see our staff come back with more robust marketing for some of the businesses, other businesses that are struggling, particularly our restaurant businesses. And we've heard from them over and over again, and I think that's an area that we should be investing resources in promoting those restaurants. So those are my only comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Byers.
Thank you. I too agree with both directions. I'm glad to hear, we've done such a great job making sure that this industry is doing well in the city, and it does feel like a good move to assert cannabis as the economic driver it is in our community and ensure that that's happening. So I'm really supportive of this and grateful to Scott for naming how long that letter was, because that was the one dramatic comment I made this evening, was about how long that letter was. But I do appreciate the history and all the points and the hard work and really making this such a vibrant aspect of our community and something we can be so proud of. So I look forward to the events to come. Thanks.
And I concur. So I think what I hear is we would like staff to come back with the expanded scope contract of the $200,000, correct, and approve item recommendation 1, right? All good?
Well, I'd like them to come back with an expanded contract.
Okay.
I don't want to give a dollar amount because they're going to have to, figure that out
Sure.
with Emerald Village.
So essentially, we'll just have staff come back with this, with what we'll officially approve at the next meeting?
No.
Are we comfortable with recommendation 1?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Sorry if I wasn't clear. So moving forward with recommendation 1, and then having staff come back with an expanded scope, unbeknownst dollar amount, and then we will approve that. Because time is of importance here, could it come back to us before the end of July? Scott, is that a day? I don't know. I mean, what is?
The difficult part is coming up with the scope of services and making sure that it's, that there's a public purpose behind all of it and that it doesn't benefit one cannabis business.
Yeah.
So that's really what took, I think, the longest time.
Okay.
This moment was coming up with the scope, and so I think as quickly as possible.
Could it? I think if it could come back to us, ideally before the end of August, it would be best. So that way, that gives August, September, Halloween, all the stuff. But if possible, that'd be great.
And
Yep.
if I can just add one thing that we do, that staff, that economic development staff start transitioning in. Not that you haven't done a great job, but just so that for future, that's where it's supposed to be. So if that's where it's supposed to be in the future, let's start transitioning economic development into this whole conversation.
Yeah, and that's happening. As far as looking at the Business Improvement District, economic development has been the lead on that. As Danny said, I mean, this has been more for consistency. As you all know, that we've been working closely with all the cannabis businesses and Emerald Village over the last several months and having meetings with them. And that's part of where this came from. So having someone with the consistency and knowledge about the agreements and things of the past was important for this initial step.
Right.
We will transition to economic development as we look at just marketing. And that may take some time. I don't want to promise August because it was difficult coming up with this scope of work. So it may be more like September or October, but at least what you've approved tonight gives them the $50,000 contract to start working once we have all the documents in place and that contract is entered.
I'd say let's shoot for August. I understand. I think that one thing that we've all discovered is that these events take a little bit longer to plan than we need. Halloween is coming up. There's a lot of stuff. So if you can, maybe just provide council with an update when you're thinking it's happening, and we can talk more about that.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so that passes 5-0. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to move right along. Item 6C was moved to consent. 6D, consideration to increase the number of allowable special events and activations to change what activities are considered special events or activations. I believe we have no public commenters. I believe, Councilmember Meister, you had questions on this, and this is Councilmember Heilman's item. Do you want to go right into comments? Great, go right on into it. There's no public commenters. Not to my knowledge, no. So we can go right on into comments.
Comments. So no, I just had.
Do you want to give a presentation? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. Did you want to talk about this item?
No, I can, but maybe Lauren should give her comment and then I can try to explain the intent of the item.
Okay. So my concern is that we're opening up something where maybe it's not necessary. In the staff analysis, it said the majority of businesses do not utilize the full allotment of special event permits and activations annually, and my concern is that some of the businesses that are using the special events all the time, that's where we're getting complaints from the public in terms of noise or other impacts. So I guess I just want to see more of an analysis of the special event permits that have happened, say, in the last year, to look at, how successful they were. Was there public input during and after those events? Was code enforcement called? Were the sheriffs called before we go and expand the number? That was my thought.
Sure, and I have no objection to having that analysis before we make any decision. This would require some ordinance changes. Part of the reason I initiated this item is that I think staff is counting as special events or activations activities that have absolutely no impact on the public. For instance, if we as a city were to buy out a restaurant and use it for our holiday party with no special valet, no anything, that would be counted as an activation and it would be counted against the business. And I don't think that was ever the intention when we had this ordinance. As we all know, there are a number of businesses, particularly restaurants, that have expressed concerns about the minimum wage and about the impact on their businesses. And I think this is designed to allow those restaurants to have events that are wholly contained within the restaurant, that have no impact on the public, but staff is currently counting that against the number of events they're allowed each year. So that is the primary thing that I wanted to address.
Yeah, understood. And so in that analysis, we could look at what counts as a special event, what does it entail? So if it's just like having a valet, you know, that may not be an impactful thing that we need to consider for a special permit. You know, so if that's what you're looking at, then I'm supportive. But I would like to get some kind of also analysis back on the permits that we have given over the last year to see, you know, if there are issues, where the issues are.
Well, and I think we should also look at whether those have had any adverse impact. And we should also look at things that are counted as activations and special events that many of us up here might say, why are we doing that? Why are we forcing the business to submit some kind of plan? Why are we wasting our staff's time on events that don't likely have any kind of impact?
Agreed.
Okay.
Supportive.
Great. Do you have any comments, Councilmember Shine?
Yes, actually, I support this item. I'd like a clarification from Councilmember Heilman with regard to the comment about the minimum wage, and are you saying that this will give the businesses more opportunity to have less paperwork so that they can have these events, and
this has nothing to do with the minimum wage itself, but it gives businesses, I think the businesses, particularly restaurants, are feeling like they're not very well supported by the council, and this would hopefully give them additional opportunities to have events to generate revenue for their business. It wouldn't change the minimum wage in any way.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Byers?
I'm all for this. I think it was something that you and I were considering when we looked at the Rainbow District item too. So I appreciate the more comprehensive look across the city and unlocking all these opportunities. So I'm fully on board with this. Thanks, Councilmember. I will bring this forward.
And this is actually going to be part of the Rainbow District conversation. So it's great to see it happening citywide. And thank you, Councilmember Heilman, for doing this and allowing our businesses to have more opportunities. I support this item. There's a motion and a second. We'll go ahead to the vote. And that passes 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, 6E was moved to consent. We're going to move on to 6F, noting the one item tonight. Vice Mayor Byers, are you ready to make your appointment to the Planning Commission?
Yes, I will be appointing Andrew Solomon to the Planning Commission. Sorry,
Congrats.
he's no longer on the Public Facilities Commission now.
It's okay. You can take him gladly. That's right. Thank you so much. We had no public commenters on that item, so I think that's the only agenda item for this. Sounds good? All right, and I'll be ready to make my appointment to the Public Facilities Commission at the next meeting if you want to agendize that now. Thank you so much. We are moving on to excluded consent, which is item 2R. That was pulled by Vice Mayor Byers. Would you like to open it up?
So this is an item about the county language for dog parks. My understanding was that there was not a consensus or majority support from the Public Facilities Commission where this discussion was played out. And my thought was that the lived experience of people who have two dogs of two different sizes, and I saw it at play tonight out at the dog park, is that those people are taking both their small and large dog to the large dog park. And so I had concerns that by putting more aggressive language, indicating the weight of which dogs and which parks, that were preventing and challenging the lived experience of a lot of our community members who have two dogs, one person, one opportunity to take their dogs to a dog park, and are doing a decent job of maintaining the rules, policing themselves if people have reported, and I want to make sure that we're not putting something that is more prohibitive for that experience that is awfully joyful for people out there. I understand the need to keep maybe a small dog specific park, but I don't know that small dogs, if with their owners' support, going into the large dog area is a concern that we should be reining in this way. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. Did any of my other colleagues have questions before I let Helen respond? Nope. Helen, go at it. Oh, did you have something to say?
She's just here. Good evening, Helen Collins, Facilities and Field Services Division Manager for the City of West Hollywood, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. This item was brought before the Public Facilities Commission to discuss adding rules based on information we had received from community members about concerns about the weight of dogs going into the small dog park. There wasn't as much concern about the large dog park. However, it was part of the discussion because that's currently how the County of LA implements theirs. So the concern was more in regards to the small dog park, but the commission did agree that while they couldn't agree on a weight, and they deferred it back to staff to agree on a weight, and we stayed with the county weight, they didn't really have a lot of discussion on the small versus the large dog park. So it's up to the council this evening to decide if that's the direction they would like to change in regards to this adoption.
Sounds good. Councilmember Meister? No, there are no speakers.
Yeah, I had actually started talking to Helen about this issue several years ago when people who were using the small dog park were having a problem, specifically with a standard poodle who kept coming in and basically was very aggressive and it was scaring all the little dogs. So my biggest concern was putting the weight limitation on the small dog park, so the small dog area, so that because as you mentioned, Vice Mayor, if an owner allows a small dog into the large area, they kind of know what it's at their own risk kind of thing. Whereas if somebody comes in with a large dog into a small dog area, it's not the same. It's not fair to the small dogs. So I understand your concerns. I think what staff was trying to do is to make it be consistent with LA County rules, so that we would have that behind us. But I agree with you. I know that there are going to be some people who are not happy that their small dog, they have two dogs, that their small dog can't go into the large dog park. So I'm not sure how how everyone else feels about it, but I definitely want the weight limitation on the small dog park.
Councilmember Shine?
I just also want to make sure we're not fat shaming any small dogs that may eat a little too much treats, that may be kind of around 35 pounds, because we're not that type of city. I actually like the nuance that Councilmember Vice Mayor Byers brought forth, and I feel like I would support that, and maybe just putting the limitation on the small dog park. As a small dog owner, I have been concerned as well when I've been in the small dog parks and there's a bigger dog coming in. But that's a really good point, that the adults, that the guardians might, want to take their small dog and monitor their own. So just on the one, but not the other.
Great. Councilmember Heilman, I know you have lots of thoughts on dogs.
Well, I have lots of thoughts on weight. I'm kind of concerned. I like the idea. I just don't want the large dog park to suddenly morph into another small dog park, because the whole point of sort of separating is that we know large dogs can be a little bit more aggressive and they can be larger. So I like the idea of having a weight limit for the, a weight maximum for the small dog park, but the large dog park, if we want to go in that direction, doesn't matter if the dog is under the weight. We're not really out there weighing them, are we?
There's no scales at the park. I should
Not
add.
yet, no, there's no scales out there.
If I could just add to, the experience at Hart Park has been that it's a mixed-use park as it is, but in future plans that would change. And so their one space where that has played out as it exists is also changing. So just before we go through all these changes, I wanted to make sure that we were making the right changes and protecting the small dogs as we want to, but not preventing the community from their dogs.
And I think the commission struggled with this particular item, so I'm glad the council has weighed in on it. No pun
All right,
intended.
this meeting's getting out of control.
Where's Chloe and where's Winnie?
All right, bring it back home. All right. The pet mayor was also very offended she wasn't asked for her opinion. Councilmember Meister?
Yeah, so I would suggest that at least to start, that we just put the weight limit on the small dog park, and then let's see how it goes. And the weight, I think you had 35 pounds. That's
correct.
35 pounds sounds reasonable.
Would that be a motion? I see.
Sure.
City
And then all
Attorney-
the other rules that you have are fine.
Yeah.
Everything else you've changed is good.
City Attorney Langer?
So the way section N reads, you could change it and add it to the resolution where the rules are slightly different from the county. And item N could read large dogs over 35 pounds are permitted only in designated large dog areas, and small dogs under 35 pounds are permitted in designated small and large dog areas. Is that correct? Small dogs can go in both. Large dogs can only go in large dog areas.
Small dogs can only, no large dogs in the small dog area is the goal.
Yes, that's correct. Large dogs are only permitted in large dog areas. And small dogs can go in both, small and large.
Do we even need to say that small dogs can go in both?
You
Small
could- well-
dogs can only go in designated dog areas.
Yeah, large dogs over 35 pounds are permitted only in large dog areas, period.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, sounds like a motion to me. Vice Mayor Byers with a motion. Councilmember Meister with a second. We'll take the vote.
For the dogs.
Podtastic, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had to get one pun in. All right, we are now, that concludes all of the business items, and if my agenda can open up, we are going to go to the last public comment, and we have Nick Roybal. Yeah, come on down.
You know, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, good evening. LA County does have a Department of Weights and Measures. So, okay. No, I just wanted to highlight some community members that have been doing work in our community recently that really inspired me. So at the last Public Safety Commission meeting, 3 individuals came forward to share their experiences, not so good, that happened in our city. Danny, Matthew, and Enrique. All of them had been attacked at gunpoint and assaulted in our city. And they came forward and they shared their stories with grace and wanting action. And I think I want to uplift the 3 of them. I also want to uplift MJ and Renee, who just rescued a whole bunch of little kittens. So if anybody's watching this, and you might want to adopt a little kitten or foster. Renee, I could hear her voice, Renee saying, foster, okay. You can go to the WeHo Community Cats or contact MJ and Renee to adopt some amazing kittens. And last, this is the 3rd year anniversary of the passing of someone I loved more than anything in this world. And it always gets tough, right, as years go on, actually. And they were a community member in our city for over 20 years. Their name was Billy Hall. Many people knew them as Mother Billy. And and they were an angel in my life and to many people in this city. And I want to uplift their soul and their spirit. And their favorite song was by Dolly Parton, "Love is Like a Butterfly." And I think that's right.
Thank you so much, Nick. Wonderful. We're going to go to council member comments and meeting attendance. No one in Zoom? Wonderful. Just double checking. Council member comments and meeting attendance reports. Council member Heilman, would you like to go first?
I represented the city at the West Side Council of Governments, and I attended various community events.
Wonderful. Vice Mayor Byers, because I forgot you the last time, I'm going to go right to you next.
I forgot, you forgot me. Yes, I just want to thank everyone as Pride Month comes to an end for making such an incredible month that we had. I know many hands make this happen, so thank you all in all those ways that you showed up this last month, and we'll still have to for the next 6 days because it's not over yet. And just, it's what an overwhelming achievement I feel like this year's Pride was, notwithstanding the issues that we'll work out for next year, but just truly thank you to everybody who made it such a stellar month. Please stay cool out there. It's really, really hot. Not happy seeing animals panting on the sidewalks. Just make sure everybody's taking proper precautions to keep cool in these heat waves. And just want to note my attendance. I had the opportunity to go to the National League of Cities Summer Board meeting in Rancho Cordova. I have the opportunity to serve on the Federal Transportation Infrastructure Services Committee, and I'm really enjoying that experience, so thank you all for giving me that appointment. The IIJA, which is the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, is up for reauthorization, and we are fighting to get more direct dollars to the city, and it's become a real joy knowing all the different priorities we have, so just thank you all for that opportunity. That's all for me.
Thank you so much, and apologies to my colleagues. We have one more public commenter, so I'm going to call your name up, sir. I don't know it, but please come up to the podium. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is Mantu, and about 5 years ago, that was during the COVID pandemic. I was here, and there was very few people. I spoke, and Mr. David Wilson, he gave me his card, and that was 5 years ago, and I would still like to speak to him about something that happened to my family. At that time, it was in the height of, racial tensions. People marching on the streets and everything. And it was a very serious thing. And so, Mr. Wilson, I would still like to speak to you.
He can't respond to you, so does that conclude your comment?
Yeah.
Great. The meeting's about to be done, so I have a feeling you can probably come up and talk to him.
Yes.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to move right back to councilmember comments and meeting attendance reports. Councilmember Meister?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I haven't really attended much this past month, and I do want to apologize to the community and appreciate their understanding and support on that. And I did attend Juneteenth and was sorry that the event was not recorded, and do hope that we look at some stationary camera options. And I also want to remind the community that we don't have a meeting in early July. We only have the one meeting, which you'll adjourn to because I don't have the date. But I do want to wish everyone a happy July 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shine.
Yes, I also attended the Juneteenth event and actually agree with Councilmember Meister about recordings. I also attended a briefing with the Cal Cities LGBT Caucus and several meetings as president.
Thank you. I attended the presentation for the Q Agenda's 100th episode with Vice Mayor Byers. Additionally, I was on a Streets for All happy hour Zoom. I attended the Urban Land Institute LGBTQI month mixer at Orbar, the WeHo Community Networking mixer at Dub's Organic Coffee Blends, and also I stopped by the LGBTQ Plus Commission meeting to say hello. Additionally, I attended the WeHo Pride Arts Festival exhibit opening and poetry Scrabble, as well as, that was that day, sorry I didn't write my stuff down. And then on Saturday, I had my Saturday in Plummer Park event. I attended the QCon, the Rainbow Family Fun Day, the Being Alive Pride and Progress event. I tried to make the Gay Men's Chorus event, heard the last second, but congratulations. And then I attended that was it for that day. Let's see. I held a meeting with the West Hollywood West Neighborhood Association. Thank you all that came out. I attended the Juneteenth event, as well as the Greater Los Angeles Association of Realtors fashion show. And then I attended the U.S. Conference of Mayors, where I learned a lot of great sessions this time, actually, and the city received a Climate Protection Award in cities of under 100,000 for our climate action report, so congratulations. It was really wonderful to see our city honored with so many other cities for the work that we've been doing. And then I came back on Saturday and received the Westies Awards Housing Champion Award. And then I attended and then Vice Mayor Byers and I sat on a panel for WeHo and queer urbanism. Additionally, I want to thank Nick Roybal for connecting me with Daniel after what experience that happened with him. I reached out immediately to him and to Daniel, Matthew, and Enrique. I've been talking to them pretty much every day or every other day and keeping them updated. I want to thank our first responders, Captain Mulder, Danny, the city, who have responded to the work that needs to be done and the quick response. I really want to give a shout out to everyone. Any type of attack on any of us is attack on all of us, and so we need to all make sure we're standing up and being there for each other. Also, Renee and MJ, I'm so glad those cats finally are getting adopted. I connected, actually, Renee and MJ with the location of that property, so it's really great to see. And that concludes my and if the city manager, the community gardens are having some issues. They're varied. Nothing that we can't handle, but if you could maybe find or work with staff to set up some time to meet with some of the organizers or people from the community gardens, you know, stuff around solar lighting and other things, you know, whatever could be done, but perhaps just meeting with you and hearing from them would be helpful. And all that's being done there. And that concludes the business. We are adjourned at 8:31 until our next meeting on July